it might seem almost too ordinary, the daily routine.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the minute-by-minute stuff, right? Waking up, brushing teeth, things we barely think about.
Exactly. But that's the point. These everyday actions, when you really look closely, they reveal so much. We're not just talking habits here.
No, not at all. It's about the hidden structures, the organizational logic, even the psychology behind why we do things in a certain order, and crucially, how talking about it forms a kind of communication blueprint.
Precisely. So our source material today lays it out really nicely. We've got these detailed routines from two people, Sarah and Johnny,
Yeah.
weekday, start to finish.
Right.
And our mission really is to use this simple day structure as a lens to understand not just, managing your time better, but how to build a clear story about anything.
Yeah, think of it as a shortcut. We want to get past just listing activities. I do this, then I do that, and dig into the why and the how. The surprising little details that make a routine work or, make a story about it engaging.
So you can apply this structure yourself, explaining your job, outlining a project, whatever.
Exactly. It's a framework.
Okay, so where do we start? Right at the beginning, naturally, that first hour. What can it tell us about efficiency, managing energy, and even telling a good story? All right, the morning. It's like the launch sequence for the whole day, isn't it?
Totally. And right away, our sources give us this really sharp distinction. It seems tiny, but it's vital for clarity.
You mean the wake up versus get up thing?
Exactly that. The power of precise language. Wake up, and that's just your eyes opening, your brain kicking in, basically. Sensory input.
But get up is the action. Out of bed, fighting gravity.
Right. And look at their timings. Sarah wakes up at 6:30. She actually says she likes the quiet morning.
While Johnny is about half an hour later, around 7 months.
Now, that's not just preference. I think it's about energy strategy. Sarah's actively carving out that quiet 30 minutes. It's unstructured time before the day really starts hitting her.
So that gap, that 6.30 to maybe 7.0 when she actually gets up, that's a conscious choice.
I think so. It's like she's managing her cognitive load up front, minimizing friction later by having that quiet space first.
And why is splitting those two, waking and getting up, so important for communication? If I just say, my day starts at 7.
Well, you lose a step, don't you? It's less clear. The listener has to do a bit more work. By saying, I wake up, then I get up, you're giving them the sequence. You're imposing order on the story right away.
Like a roadmap.
Exactly. It stops that feeling of just getting a jumble of information. You establish the chronology, which mirrors the kind of decision-making you've already done for your morning.
So Sarah's quiet half hour,
Mm-hmm.
it sets her pace. Suggests she's prioritizing mental peace.
I'd say so. It's like she's trying to avoid decision fatigue later on. The more automatic things she can do while she's still, waking up.
The more brain power she saves for later.
Right. For the actual work stuff.
Okay, so speaking of automatic things, once they're actually out of bed, they both do the same things immediately. Brush teeth, wash face.
Yep. Those are the non-negotiables, the absolute basics of getting yourself sorted. They anchor the routine.
But then we hit the first real difference, the variable.
Making the bed.
Yeah, Sarah does it, and she tells us why. It makes the room look nice. Simple, direct, and environmental tweaks she controls.
Right. Immediate positive feedback. Tidies the space, tidies the mind, maybe.
But Johnny, he says he only does it sometimes.
And that sometimes is fascinating. It's not about being lazy, I don't think. It's a trade-off. It tells us something about priorities.
How so?
Well, Sarah is clearly prioritizing that visual order, that feeling of control over her space. Johnny, maybe he's saving that tiny bit of mental energy for something else, like gearing up for his commute, maybe?
So wait, if he only does it sometimes, isn't that just inconsistent? Doesn't it break the routine?
But that's the key, isn't it? Consistency in the essential things like brushing your teeth, that's discipline. But flexibility in the non-essentials, like the bed. Maybe that's smart energy management.
Okay, I see. So he still has a routine,
Yeah.
but making the bed isn't a critical part of its structure for him.
Exactly. He's decided it's low priority enough that on some days, maybe when he's feeling rushed or his mind's elsewhere, he can skip it. It shows that even a good routine needs wiggle room, zones of flexibility.
Right. Fixed actions anchor it, but the sometimes actions reveal what you really prioritize when resources are tight.
Precisely. If you're telling someone about your day, mentioning the things you sometimes skip can actually say more about you than listing the things you always do.
Interesting. Okay, so personal maintenance done. What's next? Fuel. Breakfast.
Yeah, and this acts as a sort of deliberate pause before the next big shift, which is moving towards work.
And their choices here really seem to foreshadow the kind of day they're expecting.
Totally. Look at Johnny. Toast, tea, sometimes eggs. It's pretty solid, traditional. Feels like fuel for a busy day. Maybe lots of interaction, needing sustained energy.
Whereas Sarah goes for fruit and yogurt. She calls it light and fresh.
Which fits perfectly with her wanting that quiet start, right? She seems to be optimizing for mental clarity, maybe avoiding any potential sluggishness from a heavier meal.
So toast versus yogurt. It's like a mini strategy guide for their day.
I think you could see it that way. Johnny's fueling up for the external world, the commute, customers. Sarah's optimizing for her internal world, the focus needed for remote work. The breakfast choice kind of anticipates the energy demands and the work environment.
It's amazing how much you can infer just from that first hour. They're both being efficient, but in ways that are completely tailored to what their day requires.
Oh.
Okay, so they've handled the internal prep. Now it's about facing the outside world, or, well, the demands of work at least. This feels like a key transition.
It really is, moving from self-care rituals to engaging with external stuff.
So first, they both get dressed. That's the physical shift. But then comes the modern reality check.
Ah, yes. Checking the phone. Messages, news. It's unavoidable for most people now.
The sources call it a very common activity now, which feels like an understatement. It's the point where the outside world floods in, right? Breaks that morning bubble.
Absolutely. It's the digital drawbridge lowering. A few decades back, this might have been scanning a newspaper, much slower, more passive. Now, it's instant, personalized, often demanding emails, needing replies, news pulling at your emotions. It's the definitive shift from personal autonomy to external engagement.
And that engagement leads straight into the biggest difference in their whole day,
Yeah.
their work environment. This shapes everything that follows. Johnny the commuter versus Sarah the remote worker.
Let's take Johnny first. Office job, takes the bus. The crucial thing here is what I'd call structural friction.
Structural friction.
Yeah, the commute itself. It's a mandatory block of time and physical movement that creates a clear boundary. Getting on that bus, that's a hard line between home and work.
And his workday sounds busy customers, helping people, reports, high interaction. So that fixed schedule, the boundary, it probably helps him compartmentalize.
Definitely. That friction is almost a benefit. It forces a clear separation. And because he's in the office, his day ends sharply. 5 p.m. Done. The structure is external.
So the commute home then becomes forced decompression time.
Exactly. It's built-in time to shift gears before he walks back into his home life.
Okay, now compare that with Sarah. Working from home, she loves the convenience. Her transition is just starting work after brush
It's
shift.
simple, right. But that convenience comes at the cost of eliminating that structural friction entirely.
No bus, no hard stop dictated by leaving a building.
Precisely. Her day is also busy, emails, meetings, calls. But without that physical boundary, the discipline has to be internal. And look at her finish time. It's fuzzier. 5:30 p.m., maybe 6 p.m.
That little bit of time creep. Very telling for remote work.
It is. It shows how the lines blur. The convenience gives flexibility, sure, but that often means the endpoint isn't as defined. She has to consciously create the boundary that the office naturally gives Johnny.
So a key insight here is that the environment shapes the routine, but less external structure demands more internal discipline.
That's a great way to put it. Working from home removes friction, which sounds great, but it means you have to be the friction sometimes. You have to manage your time blocks more actively and maybe work a bit longer because the end isn't as concrete.
Right. Okay, moving through the day, the next big structural point is lunch, the midpoint reset. And here again, big differences reflecting their work styles.
Totally different approaches. Johnny eats at 1 p.m., and the key thing is with colleagues, they talk and laugh.
So for him, it's social. His work involves lots of talking to people, so maybe the lunch break is more talking but unstructured, a release.
Exactly. It's social decompression. Building team bonds, having that less formal interaction after a morning of structured professional talk. It's like group mental recovery for an extroverted role.
Sarah eats earlier, 12.3. Makes something healthy. But the crucial part is she uses the break for solo relaxation, specifically reading a book, which she calls very relaxing.
Okay, let's connect this. Her work is screen-based, writing emails, maybe intense focus in meetings. Lunch for her isn't about social connection. It's about switching off that input stream. Reading a book, a physical book maybe, is an act of what we could call cognitive refusal.
Refusing input.
Yeah, refusing more digital information, more conversation, forcing a deliberate, focused, different kind of mental activity to recharge the parts of her brain that have been working hard all morning. It's solo mental recovery.
Wow, that's a huge difference. Johnny needs social time to recover from social demands. Sarah needs solitude to recover from focused screen time.
Both are functional, both are restorative, but tailored completely to offset the specific stresses of their respective workdays.
So lunch isn't just about food, it's a strategic pivot, a way to actively manage the cognitive load built up in the morning.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's adaptive habit building in action.
All right, so work's done, or winding down. Now the routine shifts again, right? From output back to internal restoration. This feels like a really critical phase for
Yeah.
and not burning out.
Oh, absolutely crucial. And notice, both of them specifically mention needing to relax a bit right after finishing work. It's not optional, it's a mandatory buffer zone.
Got to dissipate that work tension. For
Yeah.
Sarah, it's quite specific. She listens to music.
Which is a great choice. It's sensory input, but controlled, non-demanding. A good way to shift away from the language-heavy parts of her brain she used all day.
And for Johnny, that buffer is kind of built in with his commute home, that enforced separation we talked about.
Exactly. Then comes the next anchor point. Dinner prep, usually around 7 p.m. for both.
And the act of cooking itself, practical, tangible, must be grounding after a day of more abstract work.
Definitely. It's a task with a clear beginning, middle, and end, and a physical result. Very different from writing reports or dealing with customer issues.
And their cooking styles mirror their personalities again, don't they? Johnny goes for simple stuff, pasta, chicken and veg. Quick, efficient.
Makes sense after a demanding day. Sarah, though, likes trying new recipes.
Which suggests she sees cooking less as just refueling and more as, what, a creative outlet, another form of engagement.
Possibly, yeah. It aligns with her more internally focused routine, maybe. But here's the really important part, the common ground that makes the whole routine sustainable.
Let me guess. Takeout.
Bingo! The shared acceptance of ordering in sometimes. This isn't a failure of the routine, it's the built-in pressure release valve.
Right. Because life happens. You can't stick to the ideal plan every single night.
Exactly. If your routine is so rigid that one deviation makes you feel like you failed, it's not a good routine. It needs that flexibility, that permission to take the easy option when needed. It's about sustainability.
That's key for mental health, isn't it? Structure, yes, but structure with escape hatches. No guilt allowed.
Well said.
Hmm?
Okay, so deeper into the evening, how do they actually unwind their main strategies?
Johnny seems more externally focused, maybe? Watching TV, playing computer games, calling family.
Suggests he might still need that external stimulation or social connection, perhaps counteracting the commute isolation or just winding down differently.
Whereas Sarah balances screen time with getting outside, going for a walk for fresh air.
Which makes perfect sense. After a day working indoors, likely at a screen, that physical movement and change of scenery is probably exactly what she needs. A clear marker that the mental work is truly over.
But they come back together at the very end, the final step before sleep.
Reading. Both mention reading before bed to help relax.
It's like the universal signal to the brain. Okay, powering down now.
Yeah.
Low intensity focused, non-digital ideally.
It helps decouple the day's stress from the need to rest. And then bedtimes are quite disciplined. Sarah around 10 p.m., Johnny 10:30.
And they both explicitly say they're trying to get enough sleep.
Which just underlines that the whole daily structure, all these routines, are fundamentally built on getting adequate rest. It's not just about cramming more into the day, it's about managing energy cyclically.
Okay, so that's the weekday structure, management control. But routines are just weekdays. What about the weekend?
Ah, the weekend shift. This is where we see deliberate flexibility, deliberate deviation from the weekday structure. The source makes a point of highlighting this difference.
And the number one difference, the great equalizer.
Sleeping in. It's the universal sign that the weekday rules are off. That physical act of staying in bed longer signals rest and flexibility.
But then their activities diverge again, and it seems to show what needs they couldn't meet during the week.
Exactly. Look at Johnny. His weekend is about fun, socializing, shopping, visiting friends. It suggests he's making up for the structured, maybe less purely social interactions of his work week.
Well, Sarah's weekend includes chores, laundry, cleaning the house, the necessary stuff.
Which points to the domestic or administrative tasks that probably got pushed aside while she was maintaining her focused work routine during the week.
So the weekend isn't structureless. It's just differently structured.
That's a perfect way to put it. The routine shifts from professional management to personal and domestic maintenance and enjoyment. It's scheduled time to catch up, whether it's on chores like Sarah or social connection like Johnny.
It ensures the whole system doesn't collapse under the weight of undone laundry or feeling isolated.
Precisely. The weekend flexibility is what makes the weekday rigidity possible, in a way. It's all part of the larger structure of managing life.
So we started by looking at the structure within habits, but really the point of these sources was also about communication, how to tell the story of your day or any process.
Yeah, and we can pull together a kind of toolkit from what we've seen. Any clear story about a process seems to need these core pillars, right? Waking up or preparation,
Eating or refueling,
working or the main activity.
and then relaxing or winding down. Those 4 beats give immediate structure for anyone listening.
And the source gives that brilliant little example narrative. Every morning I wake up at 7 a.m. Then I brush my teeth and get dressed. I have breakfast and then go to work. At work I have meetings. In the evening I make dinner and watch TV. Finally, I go to bed.
Simple, clean, effective.
Incredibly effective because of that simplicity and clear sequence. So the big question for you listening is, how do you take that principle and apply it to make your stories clear, whether it's about your day or, I don't know, a complex project at work?
And the sources point to 2 key things: language anchors and tense.
Right. First, the tense. The sources call the present simple tense. I wake up, I eat, she works our friend for talking about habits.
Why is that so powerful, though? Just grammatically.
It's more rhetorical, I think. Using the present simple signals consistency, pattern, reliability. If you're describing a process, first we analyze the data, then we generate the report, finally we present the findings. Using that consistent tense tells the listener, this is how it works, this is established, this is repeatable. It builds confidence.
Whereas mixing tenses or using will all the time might make it sound less certain, less controlled.
Exactly. It can introduce a feeling of instability. The present simple anchors it in predictability.
Okay, so tense is important. What else?
The connectors, the cognitive signposts. The source specifically flags words like first, second, then after that, and finally.
These seem basic, but they do so much work for the listener.
Oh, huge work. They aren't just linking ideas, they're actively managing the listener's expectations and, crucially, reducing their cognitive load. When you say first, you prime the listener. Okay, a sequence is coming. Pay attention to the steps.
Like holding their hand through the information.
Kind of, yeah. Compare saying, I wake up, brush teeth, get dressed, eat breakfast, go to work. It's just a list, but first I wake up, then I brush my teeth and get dressed. After that, I have breakfast. Finally, I go to work. Infinitely easier to follow and remember.
Because you've explicitly laid out the structure using those simple words.
Yeah.
Just like Sarah and Johnny structure their actual day step by step.
Exactly. The same discipline applies to talking about it.
The sources also touch on the conversational aspect, using I for yourself, but asking you questions to engage others.
Right, like what do you do after work? It keeps it a dialogue, not a monologue. It ensures that flow.
And the overall message seems to be, don't get hung up on perfection. Focus on the structure, the sequence, the clarity. The intent to communicate well is key.
I love that analogy. They used every word as a brick in the house of communication.
Yeah.
You start with the basic words, the nouns and verbs. Those are your bricks. And you use the connectors. Then after that, finally, that's the mortar holding it together. You use those tools to build something solid, whether it's just telling someone about your morning or laying out a complex business plan.
It shifts the focus from worrying about mistakes to mastering the process, building the structure.
Precisely. The architecture of clear communication. Hashtag outro.
So there we have it. We took something as simple as, what time someone eats yogurt, or the difference between a 5 p.m. finish and a 6 p.m. finish.
And used it to uncover these really powerful basic structures. Structures for organizing your day, yes, but also for organizing how you talk about almost anything.
Our goal really was to show you that framework, the sequence, the importance of consistency, but also those necessary release valves like flexibility and managing friction.
Yeah, because understanding that structure, sequence, clarity, boundaries, it really is a shortcut to being better informed yourself and better at expressing your own ideas clearly. Your own daily routine, however simple it seems, it's already a well-structured story.
And we saw how that structure deliberately changes on the weekend. Sleeping in, shifting focus to chores or social life.
Right, dealing with those deferred needs. Which brings us to our final thought for you to mull over. Building on that idea of things you put off.
Okay.
Think about your own week versus weekend. What's the single biggest necessary task? Not fun, but something essential like admin, or a big chore that you consistently push from the busy weekday to the weekend. And what does the fact that you have to postpone it tell you about your core priorities when your time and energy are most limited?
That's a good one to chew on. What gets sacrificed?
Exactly. What does the sacrifice reveal?
Okay, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the perfect day, or perhaps the perfectly structured day. Master your routine, master your narrative.
We'll catch you next time.